Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today I've got another Destiny 2 build for you guys as we get ready for the final shape in under a month at this point. And I've been absolutely loving Onslaught and also playing through a lot of the different new content. We got new PvP maps, we got new Pantheon raid boss Gauntlet, which I think is a lot of fun. I was able to beat week one, and overall, I've just been really enjoying the game again. So I figured I would continue to make these builds, especially as we look towards the final shape and seeing what type of content that we might have in store for us with a legendary campaign, new raid, and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, this is going to be Void Titan, and what I love about this one is it's an old favorite of mine using the Doomfang Paundron exotic gauntlets. So if you don't know, this essentially recharges your super when you are using it, and as long as you're getting kills with it, it essentially can be a near infinite experience. So having extra shield throws is huge, but extending your super on hitting a target is absolutely massive. Plus, defeating targets with void damage has a chance to grant an escalating bonus to damage with void weapons as well, so you want to really lean into that. And then defeating targets with void melee grants super energy, so it really combines well with certain builds to be super effective. Now, as far as my weapons, I'm using Mountaintop. This is just for extra damage against chunkier enemies. I might not use it a ton, but it is nice to have in my pocket. You can swap this out for some kind of fusion rifle, but anything here that's going to do extra damage if you run out of heavy ammo to larger enemies like, say, champions, bosses, that kind of stuff is important. I'm also using one of my favorite weapons that I don't see nearly enough, the Ross Arajo. This one has repulsor, brace, and onslaught. I could probably get a better roll on this, to be honest, but for now, this thing is fantastic, especially when you get the buff to void damage. You also can make yourself have volatile rounds, all that kind of good stuff. Really, really nice. So I love that auto rifle. Then I'm using Deterministic Chaos. I know nobody really likes to use this weapon. It's not a super common one, and people meme on machine guns in general, but I think as a support weapon, it is something where you have enough ammo throughout the onslaught activity to continue to just absolutely hold down the trigger. This actually is not so bad, and I found it to be actually quite effective. So if you forget what this does, every fourth bullet becomes a heavy projectile that weakens targets, so infinite weaken, and then also you got Vexadecimal, so every fourth heavy metal projectile also makes it volatile. So essentially, as long as you're holding on the trigger for a extended period of time, you'll have a double effect. I'm using Sentinel Shield, obviously, with the Shield Bash, although you could really use Shield Throw. I just like Shield Bash in this situation to suppress targets, especially bigger ones, and then the Vortex Grenade is the best grenade for this one, in my opinion. I'm also going to rock Bastion. This is going to give me an overshield when I use my barricade, but also casting my super will give my allies overshield. This is very nice to keep them alive and keep yourself alive while using a barricade. Then we've got the offensive bulwark. This is specifically because whenever you get an overshield, you get the grenade charges faster, but also you gain an additional shield throw while on the Sentinel Shield, and that's really, really massive. So you won't be swapping that for anything, in my personal opinion. Fragments, we got Expulsion to make enemies explode. We got Instability for volatile rounds. Again, with the Ross Arago, this is very, very nice. And then we've got the Reprisal as well as the Echo of Harvest. Reprisal is nice because you want to get your super up as often as possible. And I was finding, honestly, there were waves of Onslaught where I would essentially kill every ad with my single super, and it would last the entire time on to the next wave potentially. The only downside is whenever you have a break in enemies because they don't spawn or whatever. So as far as the mods go, it's a heavy ammo finder and void target and void siphon. Void heavy for sure. You're essentially going to be using all of the harmonic mods there. Then we've got firepower, heavy-handed, and fastball. We've got void damage resist, charged up, and void reserves. Void weapon surge ×2, void holster. This is nice if you swap between your AR and your grenade launcher, and then you after stowing your machine gun, so that way it'll recharge automatically. And then finally, distribution time dilation. All those are very, very nice. Now, overall, this build is pretty straightforward. Initially, you'll just generate as many orbs and as much super energy as possible using your grenade into your Ross Arago, which has volatile rounds at that point. And then just melt any yellow bars, orange bars, any bosses, anything like that with your deterministic chaos. Once you have your super, pop it and just go ham. It is one of my favorite things and something I forgot how much I enjoyed, to pop your sentinel shield and then just start sending shields into the enemies consistently. It is very satisfying and probably the only opportunity to have a near infinite super in the game right now based on everything that we have currently available. So I think even at the higher difficulties, even at the higher waves, you'll see me past wave 40, you're still able to extend your super for a extended period of time, which is very, very nice. Other than that, though, deterministic chaos is the star of the show. I'm essentially weakening and melting every enemy that I see. It's effective against not only champions, not only big yellow bars, not only the these bombers who will destroy the ADU, but also the Tormentor as well. So all of that makes it a more effective option than I think people realize. Now, you might want to swap this for boss damage potentially because it might take a little bit longer, but if you have other allies who are doing a bunch of damage, maybe they're not weakening the boss as much, having the weaken effect permanently on the boss is very, very nice. You can then swap between your deterministic chaos to your mountaintop back and forth as you're doing damage, especially if you end up putting like a kinetic loader instead of the void loader. You could swap that out, the void holster, so you could then have your mountaintop pretty consistently, or you have, like I do on my mountaintop, auto loading holster. So either of those combinations will work well. Swap back and forth, really do as much damage in as little time as possible. It's not going to be the burst damage of a grenade launcher, of a rocket launcher, anything like that, but in a pinch, especially with allies, who I've found are very hit or miss when it comes to boss damage. Some of them will melt right away, some of them will not at all. And the problem with that is if you do all of your damage and then you run out of ammo, then now you're at the mercy of them a little bit more, and that can be a bit of an issue. Again, this is one that if you want to swap off of this for your boss fights and just have this as your best option for the rest of the time in Onslaught. I know a lot of people will save loadouts and swap to them back and forth depending on when they are doing pure ad clear versus when they are doing boss fights. That's another option as well. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Definitely helps out. If you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me going forward, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below if you would change anything with this build. What would you run? Have you used Deterministic Chaos recently or the Doomfang Paundrons? Let me know in the comments. My name is JoPa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all.